I replaced my TV with these XR glasses for the past 30 days. And it completely changed how I think about productivity, entertainment, and where this whole XR thing is actually heading. You see, in the past year alone, we've seen XR glasses evolve into completely different products. We have a slightly updated Apple Vision Pro,
a pretty well-received Meta Ray-Ban display,
with so many lightweight smart glasses all claiming to be the next big thing. But with all these options, what actually gets me excited are the devices that have real practical use cases.
the ones that get the work done for me, the ones with the best design,
Ones that deliver a premium experience without the premium price tag. So when VITURE sent me their newest XR glass, the Beast, I have one question. Is this really the best XR glasses? Than the 1,000 other ones on the market right now.
Let's talk about it.
Now, full disclosure, VITURE did send me this pre-production review unit, but as always, they don't get to influence my take or opinions. So first of all, what even are these? In simple terms, it's a pair of glasses with macro OLED screen inside that project a 174-inch virtual display right in front of you. Now, when I first heard 174 inches, I was like, that's absurd. That's the size of this entire wall. But in reality, it's 174 inch from 4 meters away. So yes, it can look gigantic if you set the distance far out. But if you just compare it to something like this 32-inch monitor at a normal viewing distance, it's about like 20% bigger, give or take. Still, that's a pretty big screen. And it definitely has a wow factor the first time you put it on. Each one runs at 1920 by 1200. So you're getting a 16 by 10 aspect ratio. As since there are two of them, one for each eye, you're actually perceiving more pixels than a standard 1200p display. They push up to 1250 nits brightness and a respectable 120Hz refresh rate. Now, those facts alone should tell you this is a serious piece of hardware.
But let's be honest, you're probably asking yourself, there must be a dozen manufacturers out there making smart glasses. Why should I pick this one? For those of you who haven't had a smart glasses before, there are basically three types of products on the market right now. You have the Meta Ray-Ban display, which is more of an AI assistant display and walking webcam. It only have a simple 600 by 600 screen on one of the lens, but it can communicate wirelessly with your cell phone. So for someone who wants a simple wearable to replace part of your cell phone function, it will be a great option. For those who want the most complete VR experience, nothing can quite beat the Apple Vision Pro. It's got the best resolution and eye tracking technology and most intuitive VR OS there is. Then you have these type of XR glasses like the Beast, which is basically just a high-quality monitor powered by your own devices. No gimmicky functions, just a big floating OLED screen. I think the value proposition is pretty clear, especially for people who wants to buy an Apple Vision Pro but don't quite have the budget for it.
But it is a relevant comparison because people would use them for very similar purposes. Travel monitor, gaming, maybe even replace the laptop in certain situations.
Now, the most obvious difference is that
when you buy the Vision Pro, you're not just buying a display, you're buying the glass, the operating system, the M5 chip, arguably the most advanced spatial computing sensors ever made, starting at $3,500. That's a price tag that can only be justified if you can basically replace all your computing devices. But if you ask most people who own one, it can't. I've had mine for over a year now, and I mostly use it for watch movies and impress guests with fancy dinosaur animations. So I can't be the only one wondering, why can't I just get a portable virtual display, use the devices I already own, and pay a fraction of the price? Oh, you agree, don't you?
in comparison, that's exactly what the Beast is made for.
The real value here is that it connects to your device, your Mac, your PC, your PS5, your Switch 2, anything with a USB-C port. That's not to say the VITURE is a better machine. For sure, it doesn't have the impressive 3D landscape inside the Vision Pro that I absolutely love so much. In fact, it will pretty much lose in all aspects to the Vision Pro except for one, the screen quality.
For far cheaper, the Beast actually have quite a comparable image quality both my paper and my personal use experience. Vision Pro wins out with its larger field of view, but it's also much larger and less comfortable to wear. Now, there are rumors that Apple is halting development on the Vision Pro, and I can definitely see why. It's just a device that's trying to do way too much at the same time. Well, most people, at least I do, I just need to have a good screen. That's all I asked. Now, enough discussion about the spec sheet, let's see what's in the box. It comes in a leathery carrying case, pretty stylish actually, with a compartment for USB-C cable. And this isn't some proprietary cable. I later swapped out mine for a longer Thunderbolt 4 cable and it still worked perfectly. The frame is magnesium and aluminum alloy, full metal build with flexible plastic cover that goes over the frame.
Looks premium and it comes in just 88 grams. That's really light for what this thing does. There are 2 customizable buttons and 2 rocker switch on each legs for adjustment. The tempo have adjustable hinge for tilt, and in the box, you also get this swappable nosepad. There's tons of adjustability to get this fitted perfectly to your face. Now, if you wear glasses like me, you will want the prescription glass insert. These are $79 extra. Previous VITURE model have dials for different vision level, but to remove that on the Beast to maximize screen size in this tiny form factor. Linus Tech Tip actually reviewed a very similar product just a few days ago called the R1.
It was a fairly similar product compared to the Beast. According to my own research, it's more tailored towards gamers rather than average consumers, with higher refresh rate and higher price tag. I've read reviews elsewhere that the R1 glass has higher corner-to-corner chromatic aberration control but suffers some center sharpness compared to the Beast. But since the R1 is a long way till its release, only time will tell. I just don't want you to think the Beast is the only option there is on the market. There are actually quite a few ones out there. I think the Beast is the best one, at least on paper. But as always, you should always do your own research before buying a fairly new type of tech gadget. I hope this table helps you with your purchasing decision and see how the Beast really stack up against competitions.
Depends on when you watch this video, this might change perhaps in the future. If you're unsure about anything, you're always welcome to leave a comment down below. I'll try to answer them as quickly and thoroughly as I can. So how does it feel to actually use them? Now, honestly, the giant display is kind of incredible, but it's really hard to show it to you because it's really tricky to feel what XR really looks like from inside the glasses. First off, when you put this on without connecting to anything, it's a normal pair of sunglasses. You can see your surrounding and electronics just fine.
Once you hook it up to a USB-C device,
it powers up in 2 seconds and start to mirror or extend your device. The menu system is quite straightforward and you can adjust the size of the screen, viewing distance, refresh rate, and button customization, etc. The viewing distance is actually pretty interesting because it's not a simple zoom. My eye can actually tell it's the same size screen, but the pixel looks further away. I find myself always set it to the furthest because it feels more like sitting in a cinema. But here's what really impressed me, is that this model can actually lock the virtual giant screen in place as you move your head around. Now you can click a button to switch between 3 different viewing modes. Compared to most of its competitor, I think most of them only get 2.
For example, most of these glasses have spatial anchor mode,
which will put the screen in place. There's also the 0 degree of freedom mode, which just means the screen will follow every single one of your movement. But for the VITURE Beast, there is this one additional mode that makes it better than the R1. It's called the smooth follow function. When you move your head, the screen follows you in a very smooth fashion. It's like putting the screen on gimbal for the lack of better words. This is enabled by a dedicated SoC inside the glass called Vision Pair 3 degree of freedom that handles real-time head tracking to stabilize the screen. VITURE did say they're going to get additional features around that after launch, which will be less than a month away. So stay tuned for that. Of course, this isn't the first time I've seen head tracking on smart glass. The Apple Vision Pro did it like 2 years ago, but this is the first time I've experienced it on a device that I can actually use for 3 hours straight without straining my neck or my eye. For a lightweight glass to have the capability of head tracking is truly quite useful to have. Now, because this is OLED, it gets pretty bright. It holds up really well on a bright sunny day. You can crank up the built-in electrochromic film to basically black out your surrounding almost completely. One feature I particularly love on this model is what VITURE called the dynamic tint control. When you look down, the tint automatically fades so you can see your keyboard or your cell phone. Super smart design. Now, in most cases, the automatic tint control works incredibly well. For example, I'm looking down at the phone screen and I can see everything around me. This is basically like a pair of sunglasses. Okay, the video is playing. What I can do is anchor it somewhere very high up. Right now, I'm in spatial anchor mode and the screen is floating in space. But as long as I look down, everything disappears. The best way for me to demonstrate it is just... If you look up, everything darkens and you just see the screen. But if you look down, you can do whatever you want. They can get hot after hours of usage. It's not terrible, so over time I learned to tilt the glass downwards just a little bit so I don't feel the heat at all. There are built-in speakers near the temple with volume rockers, and honestly, they sound pretty great.
Other competitors say ChatGPT, that is too much for Siri to handle, stuff that needs world knowledge or has a multi-step request or whatever.
Now, speaker is not quite as good as a dedicated earphone like the AirPod Pro, but really that's kind of expected. For watching YouTube or playing Zelda on my Switch, they're totally fine. And if you're in public, nobody else is gonna hear it. You know what? Watch this.
My mind now. 1, how good will this partnership be? You know, it's kind of like this. There's always, you know, GPT and Claude, Anthropic, all that stuff. But I'd say it's comfortably top 3. But then 2,
Just to compare, this is how loud it is on an iPhone speaker.
I want to show you what this looks.
So yeah, this is pretty quiet for everybody else at least. Alright, let's talk about actual use case. Who is this even for? Of course, the most obvious use case would be for movies. You're lying in bed, you put this on, you crank up the electrochromic tint to max, and suddenly the ceiling disappears and you're the only audience member in your own private cinema. But here's where it gets crazy. This thing can actually turn any 2D content into 3D. Yeah, you heard it right. There's a feature on this to turn any standard 2D content and somehow this glass convert it into 3D in real time. It could even be a standard video on YouTube. It could be a game on your PC. I honestly don't know how they did it. I kid you not, it just worked on anything. It sort of reminded me when 3D movie first came out. I could never go back to what it was before. Now, it's almost impossible to show that on camera, but in my opinion, if there's one killer feature that's gonna blow all this competition out of the water, this is probably it. Come to think of it, it's going to be a really good use case if you're into old movies. Don't you want to see the original Star Wars in 3D? The Godfather? I'll just stop there. But it is genuinely kind of mind-blowing if you think about the possibilities. To enable this, you do have to download virtual software called Immersive 3D. It's available both on Mac, PC, or mobile. The mobile version is a little bit buggy, so I would recommend at the time of this recording to try the PC or Mac version. It's pretty straightforward to use. You click it open and it can run in the background on your device. And you can just toggle it on with one click. That's it. If you're a movie lover, you're gonna have a great time with this. Now, of course, this is a productivity channel, so I'm gonna have to talk about how I use it to get work done. In my opinion, the Beast works best with a small size laptop or a tablet. With a laptop, you can run an ultra-wide virtual screen right above your laptop, making it a multi-screen setup. Keyboard and mouse response is snappy, no latency whatsoever.
Now, when you work on a lot of text document, if you use your peripheral vision to look closely, you can see a slight chromatic aberration on the edge of the display. Now, this is a bit of an extreme example because my camera lens is not close enough to the glass. When you are actually wearing the glasses, it will be just slightly visible. Since I can't get a proper lens to demonstrate it for you, here's an illustration of where it starts around the edge. I also suggest you watch someone else's review on the Beast, and I think you'll probably hear similar conclusions. It's not something I can immediately discover, but it's definitely there. The text is sharp enough to read, but I'd say it's not exactly like a 4K experience, or like reading on a ProMotion iPad Pro. So I suppose this is not a good e-reader replacement. But if your work involves a lot of moving tables, pictures, or video timelines, where screen real estate is more important than pixel sharpness, the overall work experience is a lot more pleasant. If I were to choose between a laptop screen and a virtual cinema display, I will pick the latter all day long. But I suppose this is different for everyone. You may prefer a smaller, sharper display over the size advantage, which is totally okay. I do think, however, this offers quite a nice alternative for folks who travel a lot for work.
The automatic tint control, or as Fisher call it, dynamic tint control, it really shines here. Whenever I need to glance down at my keyboard, the tint automatically lifts so I can see what I'm typing. Better yet, this works beautifully with the iPad mini and the Bluetooth keyboard. Now, I can slip my iPad in my pocket, pull out a foldable keyboard and the trackpad, throw on these glasses, and I got a full workstation anywhere. Over the past months, I've gotten a lot of looks and comments about this setup in the public. But here's the biggest limitation when it comes to productivity. You can't just completely close your laptop, phone, or iPad when you are using this, because it just mirrors your display. If you close your phone, the screen is off. There are some workarounds. You can dim your laptop screen completely, so just kind of use it like a keyboard,
or use their Spacewalker app to work around the issue.
But it's definitely not as intuitive as just plug and play. That said, if you're building to work around these limitations, the glass are genuinely great for working on the road. It addresses one of the biggest shortcomings of the iPad mini, those tiny screens. The iPad mini handles the computing while the Beast becomes a display. Couple that with a Bluetooth keyboard with a built-in trackpad. That's the holy trinity of the portable workstation. Of course, gaming. If you're a gamer, I think this type of glass is going to appeal to you immediately. When I first connected the Beast to my Switch 2 and PS5, I had an absolute blast. It really feels like playing games in your own cinema. Now, connecting to the Switch or PlayStation is slightly tricky. You will need a dock to run USB-C to the dock and then HDMI to the console. But VITURE's dock, called the mobile dock, also double as a battery bank. I love that so much, especially if you know how brutal the Switch 2's battery life is. For most handheld consoles though, you can just connect them directly. They all work straight out of the box. No special software, no setup. That said, I still recommend picking up the mobile dock if you're serious about gaming. The HDMI port alone gives you more flexibility to connect things around the house.
There are 2 USB-C ports for additional glasses, and they sell this special bracket for mounting the dock onto your Switch.
So if you got a friend with your own pair, you can share the same screen and play together, which is kind of the whole point of owning a Switch, right? I'll be honest, ever since I got this, I dropped way more hours than I probably should revisiting Breath of the Wild, flying around Hyrule on a massive floating screen. It's allowed me to appreciate the beauty of the game like never before. Bottom line, this thing can actually replace my giant TV. Full stop, with some added benefit of portability and privacy. Now, like many of you, I got kids at home, and I definitely don't want them to see me hogging the TV all the time playing video games. And that just sets a very bad example, talking about double standard. Alright, let's talk about pricing. The VITURE Beast comes in at $549 US, which is actually slightly lower than the previous flagship, the Luma Pro Ultra. In Linus' video, Asus didn't disclose the price of the R1 glass, but I think there's a good chance that's gonna be more expensive than that, given that it's a collaboration between 2 companies. But we're gonna have to wait and see. What I do know is that VITURE Beast is available now. Pre-order are already open and shipping start as early as next month. If you're chasing the best image quality and most immersive 3D cinema experience, I'm confident that this is the best the market has to offer in early 2026. Personally, I would pick the Beast over R1 because the spec sheet indicate this is better and I like the overall experience. But if you're interested, I suggest you watch Linus' video after this and make your own decision. You can use my code CAPZ for 10% off everything on VITURE's website. Link in the description below. You guys know me, I don't keep reviewing it for myself, so as always, I'm gonna give away 1 pair of VITURE Beast once it launches in February. If you win, I'm gonna go on VITURE's website and order you a new one. They sent this unit to me for free, so it kind of evens out. Here's how to enter. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, and leave a thoughtful comment telling me what you think of this piece of tech, or any suggestion for me when it comes to tech review. It doesn't have to be a nice comment. I pick winners from critical takes plenty of time in the past, so just keep the conversation going in a civil manner. That's all I ask. Once 100 people commented, I'll pick a random winner randomly. So the chance of winning this is always 100 to 1. I'm always excited to give away something this premium. We also did a similar giveaway last year, and shout out to Mark, which went pretty well. So thank you, VITURE, for making it happen. That's it for this one. Thanks for watching. I've got tons of interesting stuff coming up, including a brand new 6K monitor review and the iPhone photography mini course I've been pouring way too much time into. So make sure you're subscribed and check back soon. Hope you enjoyed this one. Have a good day. I'll see you in the next video.